Welcome to the January 26th edition of the Index Sports Show. I'm Jack Nickel, managing editor of the Index. With me I have Logan Jackson, sports editor, and assistant sports editor Brad McMillan. And today we're going to be discussing mid-season report cards for 5 winter sports, both basketballs, both swimming, and wrestling. Some teams are kind of farther along than others, I think, at this point. But let's start with men's basketball. Going into tonight's game, Wednesday night's game, 5-11, 3-9 in the conference. Guys, what are you giving men's basketball?
Well, I actually gave them a C. Like you said, they've got 5 wins, which I guess would be considered improvement. They only won 5 games all of last season. But, you know, they've had a couple double-digit leads at halftime and blown those, and I know at least one of them came at home. I do have to say that I'll give Ethan Freeman an A this season. The guy's been a double-double machine, been rebounding the ball, leading the MIAA in that. But right now I've got him at a C.
Yeah, they definitely have looked better, especially in the win column this year. I think you're right about Ethan for sure. And there's some other guys you probably could justify giving a higher grade to. It's a tough conference, but overall, it's been a mixed bag for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it does seem Ethan had that near triple-double, and Alex Henderson has been shooting pretty well. So you got those 2 seniors, and maybe they'll make the tournament. They got to move up some, but it's not out of the question they can make the tournament this year. Moving to women's basketball, 8-8 record, again going into tonight's games, and 6-6 in the conference. So right in the middle of the pack. What are you giving the women's team?
I actually gave them a B, and this was kind of based solely on their defense. They've been pretty much the best defensive team in the MIAA this season. And I know offensively, Bree Daniels and Amy Gailey have really been leading them. So the record's 500, but with that defense, the defense is going to be important later on in the season when they need to gut out some wins. So I've got them at a B right now.
I've got them at a B as well. I think they've been impressive for what they've got. They've got a lot of younger girls on the team that have really contributed, Nicole Gore being one that definitely comes to mind. Impressive win at UCM last week, coming from behind and winning in overtime. So definitely a fair mark for the ladies, I think.
And something that ever since Michael Smith came to Truman, his teams have done well in the second half. So maybe they're kind of gearing up to make a push and maybe make a move in the MIAA tournament. I guess we'll go to wrestling. They've only had 2 duels, 2-0 in the duels, had a lot of tournaments and opens throughout the season. What are you giving wrestling?
I've got wrestling at an A-. They had 6 wrestlers in the top 4 at the NBC Invite this last weekend. Colton Schmitz got his first ever career win, and they shut out Hannibal 50-0 a couple weeks back. So real good stuff. Coach is optimistic. They have a few guys who could be All-Americans. So overall, well done by wrestling, A-.
Yeah, and I know Coach Shooter always sets the goal at 3 All-Americans. He's never had 3 All-Americans in one season, and I really do think they have a pretty good shot at that this season. I know you mentioned Colton, but they've also got a couple freshmen, Ryan Moss and Devin Finstermaker, who have they're actually leading the Bulldogs in wins this season. So they've got a pretty solid group, and it's also a very, very young group, too.
I guess if they don't make it nationals, we always know that they'll probably get good grades.
Yes, they will more than likely win an academic title again.
So that's a given. Staying healthy or not and making it nationals, that's more up in there, I think. And then going to swimming here, women's swimming, they've got plenty of B cuts, no A cuts thus far, but conference meet is coming up in a couple weeks, and that's their big taper meet. So they still have that, and after that, nationals.
And like you said, women's swimming's kind of tough to grade. I gave them a B right now. They do have a ton of B cuts. I think they got 12 in one meet earlier this season. And like you said, that conference meet's really the one that they taper for and they really push for. They should pick up several A cuts. They've got a really strong senior class that won the national meet as freshmen. So I've got them at a B, but that could improve later after this conference meet.
For now, women's swimming, I have them at a C+. I think you're absolutely right. I think there's some room to improve, and I think they will. Women's swimming generally very strong. But I think that some of those A cuts are coming, and at that time, I think the grade definitely moves up. But for now, I've got them at a C+.
Men's swimming, they've got A cut from Jared Simic. The only A cut on both swimming
Yeah.
teams. So he's been the star. What do you give in men's swimming?
Yeah, they're kind of on the border of a C plus B minus for me. Like you said, Simic does have that A cut, the only guy or woman with an A cut. They also got Brian Tillis, who does have some national experience. Tony Hernandez has stepped up. I think he's the only guy who got a win this past weekend. So they're right on that B-C line for me.
I've got them at an even C. I think that you're right, and there has been a lot for both these teams going through, especially with Mark Gold stepping away, and so a lot to consider there.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got them at a C. Simic's been really impressive. Wouldn't be surprised to see them put together a little bit of a run here later in the season, just like the women. Maybe not quite as much, but C for now.
Yeah, it seemed like I was surprised Hernandez was the only winner.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the strength of jury, I thought somebody might have been able to pull out on the women's side, maybe Anna Grinker.
Yeah.
I think she won an event against Jury last
Mm-hmm.
year, but Jury's pretty strong.
Yeah. Pretty good.
And Truman has had the coaching turnovers, so they've had challenges as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all we have for today. I guess we'll see how the basketball teams end up and the swimming teams in a couple of weeks, and if wrestling can send 3 to nationals this year. So,